for Mickey Mouse and women
No.
in prison.
If you put a whole bunch of them next to each other, they synchronize.
Oh, I see
Yeah.
New Black. I see what you're doing there.
Actually, I haven't. I have
Oh.
never seen that show. I just
Yeah,
happened.
They talk about that
to
women
have
all
heard that
synchronizing
story. Okay.
their cycles.
Yeah, I mean,
got it.
Yes. Okay.
you could have gone with like women in the dorm rooms, or
Okay,
women
sure.
at
Women
summer
at the
camp.
Yeah.
Wait, Kara, you lived in the dorms. Did that happen?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were times you wanted to
Fair
avoid the woman's dorm at all costs.
So true.
But there was lots of chocolate around.
No, so there was like a week where guys were just like, we're not even gonna.
Yeah.
I know it's open dorm, but I don't feel like going this week.
No.
I don't feel like going this week.
Well, it's the wise ones, anyhow.
The wise.
The wise ones, exactly.
I'm so glad I lived in my own apartment on that campus.
You missed out,
Wait.
Calvin. But I don't know that. I mean, guys, they say they do kind of synchronize, in a way as well. I don't know. It's not their periods, obviously. But
They have something.
I will. This might be too much information, but
There we go.
when Jen is done with hers, I have like a week, maybe like 3 days, where I'm just like
Yeah,
the
it's
most.
only like a couple days.
I'm the most irritable person on earth. There's an episode of. I'm dating myself here. There's an episode of Roseanne.
Oh
way
gosh,
back in the day.
remember Roseanne?
Yeah, Roseanne.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So Dan comes running down the stairs, and he's dressed up in like fishing gear. He's ready to go fishing. But he's panicked, and he's ready to get out of the house. And the sister, I guess she's on Big Bang Theory now.
Oh yeah.
But she plays Sheldon Cooper's mom. But she shows up, and
Yeah,
she's like,
Laurie Metcalf.
yeah, she's like, "What's going on, Dan?" He's like, I need to get out of here." And she's like, "No, why? Are you okay? You seem panicked." And he's like, "Just get out of my way. I need to get out of here." And so he's almost out the door, and he hears, "Dan." And I guess this is like the day where it hits the hardest. And he's got to dodge. She's like clockwork. And so now he's stuck in this situation where all you hear is. So I guess the rest of this episode. There's a voiceover of what Dan is thinking the rest of the day. And like he's just so upset to be at home and he's stuck and she's super emotional. And then so that's the whole crux of the episode. And then at the end of the episode, it's like the next day. And so he's irritable now. And then it goes into Roseanne's head, like, what's bothering him? It's so funny, so funny. But yeah, I didn't know that was an actual thing that women actually. I thought it was just kind of a joke.
No,
No,
it's very
yeah.
true. Like households of women, when you have like a ton of daughters,
Okay,
they're all the same.
that's so weird.
Like the
Absolutely.
dad's like, oh my gosh.
I guess that's a good thing. I guess it's kind of like God's gift to men. If you
Yes.
have a house full of women that they sync up, because
I
if you would have
or-
if you had 4 daughters and they were all on a different
Think
week.
of back in the day when they had like hundreds of wives and concubines. Like when you think about that, I mean, think of like King David. He had like
what was Solomon
300.
thinking?
Solomon was it? No, it wasn't King David. It was Solomon. He had how
Looking
many?
for the meaning of life, Calvin.
Solomon had 1,000 women.
That's what he was like. You're not allowed in my quarters.
Yeah, that was like, you know, in the Old Testament, was it like Leviticus? They talk about all the women had to like leave the village and go out when they were on their period. So it was
Speaking
it
of
was a group of
marginalizing women. No, I'm just kidding.
go out by themselves.
That's okay.
That's hilarious.
Hold on one sec here. I am just writing
Do
down
you
a
have
few
your
notes.
hats off?
I got to look at my hats off too, so I'm not ready to do hats off. So somebody else.
I'm gonna grab a notebook. Real
I'm
quick.
good to go.
Be right back.
I'm good to go too.
Okay, so we're gonna have Kent and Jen do the hats off this week.
Okay.
All right, Kent, you go.
All right. So, okay. All right. So we'll start now. Okay. In order to start my hats off, I first need to talk about the word of the day. And the word of the day is.
We had one.
We do. We have a word of the day.
Am I supposed to
today.
scream like on Pee Wee's Playhouse when you say the word? Am I supposed to go like ah? That's dating myself, I know. But am I supposed to scream?
To
when you say the word of the day?
to my shame, I have virtually no familiarity with Pee Wee's Playhouse. I think there was a chair It was like an anthropomorphic chair.
I will tell you that Lawrence Fishburne was a Cowboy Troy on the show.
What if I told you? Okay.
Yes, I see what you did there. Thank you for that.
Okay. Okay. So the word of the day is sextillion. Now you're gonna go the rest of your life. Okay. Yep. That's okay. You're gonna go the rest of your life without ever coming into contact with the word sextillion in a meaningful way. A sextillion is one of those meaningless numbers. It's a number that's not possible for normal people to wrap their minds around. There's no difference in our brains between a sextillion and a septillion, even though a septillion is 1,000 times bigger. And there's no difference between a sextillion and a quintillion, even though a quintillion is 1/1000th the size.
Well, of course those things are different. They're
sure,
totally different.
Of course they are.
I know exactly how many times difference those things were from each other. I actually spend a great deal of my day, Kent, thinking about the difference between those three sets of numbers.
Well, you're about to. So let me explain what a sextillion is. A sextillion is a 1 followed by 21 zeros.
See, I thought it was a number that had sex with other numbers.
Okay, I wasn't going to do it, but yeah. A sextillion is 1 trillion billions. There are 5 sextillion grains of sand on Earth. There are 10 sextillion stars in the universe. Okay? For scale. So, as Bill Cosby would say, I told you that story to tell you this one. I am not here to talk about the morality of the day, but the backdrop of this story is an execution. I know, light fare. The Texas Court of Criminal Appeals halted an execution.
Can't.
Yeah.
I need you to start that whole that part over because you broke up.
Okay. Am I good now?
Yeah, you're good now.
Okay. I'm not here to talk about the morality of the death penalty, but the backdrop of this story is an execution. The Texas Court of Criminal Appeals halted an execution this past Thursday because of some flawed testimony in the sentencing phase of his trial. The prosecution informed the jury that the defendant had been identified through DNA testing, and the chances of the DNA testing being wrong was 1 in 43 sextillion. But it turns out that the prosecution was wrong, and they gave the jury the wrong number. They did the math incorrectly, and they found the chances of the accused being misidentified were not 1 in 43 sextillion. It was 1 in only 40 sextillion.
Well, oh my gosh.
So
that changes everything.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. So they halted the execution to see if a new trial was necessary. And considering that we're talking about the state of Texas, whose official motto is Texas, we kill good here, yay Texas. I wouldn't make any long-term plans if I were the convicted, but Texas, who's wrong almost all of the time and nobody likes them, when they want to be right, they're really sure about being right. So hats off, Texas.
Wow.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing. They say everything is bigger in Texas.
Well,
so
in
the
this
number
case, it was 3 sextillion smaller.
yeah, 3 sextillion smaller. So that is weird. I don't know how Texas feels. Texas clearly feels bad about being 3 sextillion smaller.
Killing them.
Killing them. Man, my gosh.
Wow.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
We alienate somebody every single podcast.
I was just thinking that.
Thank you, Kent, for
continuing the tradition.
Yeah, making light of the sextillion people living in Texas. I assume
I don't know if we have any. I don't know if we have any.
I heard
listeners
that there is
Texas?
I'm sure we do. Because sex. Apparently, there are a lot of people in Texas, and how that happens is sex. That's how I'm going to.
Boom.
Fix what I was just saying. But Texas, I've heard, is so large It's so large that every
How
man,
big is
woman,
it?
every man, woman, and child
Yeah.
alive in the United States
Yeah.
could fit inside of Texas and still have 1 square foot to themselves.
Okay.
One whole square
big.
foot. Wow.
Now,
That's how big Texas
Whole
is.
square foot. Moving
Okay,
down.
you're something's wrong with the math there. I don't want to get off on a rabbit trail, but not one. Well, a person can't fit in 1 square foot.
You absolutely can fit in a square
you
foot.
Sure.
can, but
In a
here's
square foot.
here's how.
I could fit in a square foot.
I'm thinking I can fit in a square foot.
There are
Sure.
some people who cannot
Asher could.
fit in a square foot. No,
Here's
they're
how
saying they
far
can fit.
off.
Everybody
Yes.
could fit and still have a square foot.
Right. I just read this week.
Okay.
So again, feel free to edit this out.
Are you snopesing me? You're snopesing me. I'll let you do it. I do it all. I make you look like an idiot all the time, so I'll let you do this.
Not that often.
At least once an episode.
The entire population of the planet Earth could fit inside the state of Rhode Island and have 4 square feet. I think what you might be thinking with Texas is the entire population of America could fit and have an acre or something like that. It's
Okay.
not 1 square foot.
Okay.
It's
Rhode Island, the population of what?
Isn't that the smallest state?
Earth.
In
Yes.
Wow.
Everyone on Earth could fit in Rhode Island.
And
Aren't there
have-
a billion people in India?
7.3 billion people in the world
I don't
could
know
fit,
about this.
could
I'm
stand
not
shoulder
I think you need
to shoulder in Rhode Island.
Okay, so how large would a place need to be for 1 sextillion people to fit somewhere?
Sextillion. Let's see.
Sextillion.
Oh gosh.
It would be big. It would be real big.
You don't
we
seem
don't-
very good at math. You don't
There's
seem very
not-
good at math.
Well, let's see, I don't know. 1 billion is 9 zeros and 21 zeros. It would bigger than we've got. Way bigger than we've got.
Could the Earth fit 1 sextillion people?
No.
It couldn't.
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
But
Alright.
Rhode Island apparently can fit all.
Are
of
you
the
saying
people.
God couldn't do it?
Yes. Yes, I am. I am saying God couldn't do it because God cannot violate the laws of physics which he himself has created.
Yeah,
You know,
we
I'm just
could,
going to
like,
edit it
we
out,
could tunnel-
everything that you explain there, and it's just going to say God cannot do it.
Okay.
That's going to be
I think
exactly what it'll say.
we can tunnel underground. Where like missing, we could have a whole other layer of underground city. And
Not
then,
even
Like Looney Tunes, where they would tunnel through the earth and then come out in China.
This
Uh,
is going
no.
a long way to prove my theory that nobody knows what a sextillion
what's
means.
that one movie?
I know,
where they're,
I
Because-
spend a long part of my day, sometimes I don't do well at my job
Uh-huh.
because I'm sitting there daydreaming, and my boss is like, "Calvin, are you listening to me?" And I'm like, "I'm sorry, I was thinking about something else." But I don't ever tell her I was thinking about what it would be like if 1 sextillion people lived on Earth.
Well, what I mean by people, it couldn't have been more perfectly laid out or illustrated that people don't understand what a sextillion is, because we're talking about could the Earth fit a sextillion people, and Kara goes to, but we could have a second layer. That's it ain't gonna help.
Well, and then
No.
we can have skyscrapers everywhere.
Nope,
So there's all those
absolutely not.
layers too.
She is convinced to give God the
No,
glory. That's all
no,
it
we
is.
could. We could have a
Amen.
regular
Preach it.
layer. We could have regular Earth. We could have Middle Earth.
Oh,
we could have,
yeah.
we could
Not
have where the-
even on
where the
Bizarro
people
Earth.
in, where the people in Game of Thrones live, and you're not even considering the fact that there's wardrobes we could go running into, and there's a whole other
I'm gonna live
land.
in Mordor for sure.
I will admit Narnia is an
One does
unknown size.
not just live in Mordor, Karen. One does not just live in Mordor.
Okay.
Oh my. We are so fun, right?
Yeah, you know what's funny is Jen. Jen, have you seen Lord of the Rings?
Yes.
Okay, I was about to say Jen does not get that joke at all, but I guess she does.
Give me a little more credit.
I'm giving her a little bit
Come
more.
on.
Oh, you haven't seen Star Wars?
What?
Oh my gosh.
See,
That is shocking.
of the
This isn't a-
she's 1 in sextillion people who have not seen Star Wars.
This is an adult woman with a job.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't. Okay.
I wish people could see. I wish people could see your demeanor right now. I think that sells it so much. We really need to make this podcast a podcast at some point because it's so much more funny. But the fact that it's a podcast means I don't have to wear pants if I don't want to. But since
I was saying I might
thought
like
I thought I'd be a
do my hair.
gentleman, and I thought I'd be a gentleman and wear pants. So
That just got weird.
it did get weird. Did it get weird?
Yeah.
Are you not wearing pants right now?
I'm wearing pants. Look, I'm wearing pants.
Oh, please, Lord. Okay. Whew, I got real nervous there for a
Okay,
second.
all right. Don't worry. Although I got to tell you, I did interview a guy one time. I interviewed.
You're gonna tell on yourself.
I interviewed
This is not a good idea.
Shane Bernard of Shane and Shane. They're a worship group.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'm interviewing Shane Bernard, and he's married to Bethany Dillon, if people don't know. But I was interviewing him, and so we're in the middle of the interview, and he's just answering these questions, and I keep hearing what I think is water.
Oh.
And I was like, so I stopped in the middle, and I was like, because I can edit things out, but I didn't edit this out because it was so funny. I was like,
I thought you were
I'm
telling
sorry,
you.
I'm like,
You're telling on him.
I'm sorry. I was like, do you hear that? I keep hearing water sloshing around. And he's like, well, I'm in the bathtub. And I was
That
like, well,
is amazing.
I was like, wow. Are you serious? He's like, yeah, I'm sorry, dude. I was like, don't worry. I mean, I've interviewed guys, like running from one platform to the other to catch the next train on the subway. I've interviewed people while they were dropping off moving vans because they were in a band and they had to move their equipment around. But I have never, ever once interviewed, at least I hope to God I didn't, interview a naked man. But now I can say that I have, in fact, interviewed a naked worship leader.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
On my podcast.
You're in the big leagues now, Calvin.
I have. There's no coming back from that, honestly.
The number of the day is 32, as in 32 years since I last took a bath. I mean, what grown man takes a bath?
I don't. Hey, man. I
Sometimes
walk
you have
a lot in
hard
my
day,
job. My
Ken.
muscles
You
get
gotta relax.
sore. I get some Epsom
Epsom
salts
salt.
out. I got some essential oils. Throw that all in the bathtub. I'm
That
good.
reminds me of the episode of Friends where Chandler takes a bath.
I'm 35 at this point. I'm about to turn 36, so I'm preparing myself to tell people I'm 36. So I've taken a bath every now and again. It helps. Don't judge me. Don't judge me.
No, that's true though. Like I know.
Anyway, who has another story?
Jen?
All right, so mine is a hats off to the people of Toronto. Apparently, they created.
Wait. Are we going to alienate people from Toronto?
Sure. No. Well, kind of.
So Canadians and Texans. This is great.
It's a great episode.
So America's
the
hat.
two extremes.
America's hat and Hell's overflow room. We
All
will be
right.
alienating.
Oh, no.
Aw.
Hell,
Okay.
Sorry, Texas is hot as blazes.
But it's beautiful.
It is.
It is.
It
It
is.
is. You just can't go outside in the summer. It's got to be the winter.
Right. Here in Michigan, we can't go outside in the winter. There, they can't go outside in the
It's true.
summer.
It's true. Okay, so the people of Toronto created a memorial to a dead raccoon after the city forgot to pick it up. And so, I mean, if you follow the whole story, they give you essentially a timeline of this story, and it's hilarious. So, at 9 a.m. Thursday morning, a good citizen, I guess, tweeted. I can't
right.
talk. Tweeted to Twitter, blah, 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 blah.
Twitter painted it.
Anyways, to the city that there was a dead raccoon. Around 12 minutes later, they responded that they were on their way, that they had already been notified. So anyhow, as the day continued, around noon, somebody left a note that said, "Rest your raccoon. Help is on the way from the city." Then it elevates to somebody left a picture. Somebody went and took a framed picture of a raccoon, like a live one, and printed it off, and a frame, and a flower. Okay, it looks like this raccoon's holding this flower. Then it had a card underneath it, and then it said that was about 3 o'clock. So then it just keeps going, and this is all on Twitter, and it's so funny. So it's going viral. Then they start just
Dead
getting,
raccoon TO.
it-
Hashtag dead
it's
raccoon
going
TO.
it's viral, right? So here's a tweet to follow, a hashtag, and it just starts going even more. It gets more and more flowers and cards, and then there's a card for people to sign, and then it goes into a fund. Somebody leaves a little basket to raise money to give a proper burial, and then candles, right? And and because the city still hasn't come. And one of the city officials there, not the city officials, I'm sorry, Norm Kelly, I guess, he tweets and he drops a Drake bomb reference, like of a picture of Drake just looking like, why isn't this raccoon gotten taken up? And so it just continues. Like so then there's people gathering around this when the van actually comes. It comes at 11 o'clock. The city van pulls
At
out.
night?
Yeah. So this goes on the whole day. And it says breaking. Like in live action, a news reporter locally comes and like actually covers it. And after 14 hours laying in the street, it was finally retrieved and taken away. Well, essentially, this guy from the city, he's trying to remove it, and he's like, seriously, guys, it's a dead raccoon. The worker has no idea of what's, transpired all day. And so they light like one more candle for this raccoon. And I just thought this was hilarious.
Okay, so
they had named him and everything.
here's the thing about this. Okay, so raccoon dies all day long.
It's
They're
just
waiting
sitting there.
for City of Toronto to come pick it up.
Mm-hmm.
I often wonder. I'm not a bad person. I think I'm a pretty good person, pretty decent person. I often wonder if I died, how many people would come to my funeral. And this might be a sad statement, but I feel like more people would go to this raccoon's funeral than would go to mine.
I feel like
I feel like
was a funny
I feel
story
like
that just got
I feel
really
like
sad.
at least 1 or 2 sextillion people showed up
Oh.
for this raccoon's funeral.
Please.
Have
On
you
Twitter.
ever
Like,
been?
Twitter had a lot of following. I will give you that.
I'm assuming that every one of us here at some point in our life has had the misfortune of being at a funeral for somebody like 50 and younger, right?
Right. Yes, we have.
They're huge. They're gigantic. You're fine.
Are you saying I'm going to die before I'm 50? I just
No,
No,
I'm saying young people. Young
Kevin, this is
people
the
get
thing.
big funerals.
Yeah,
that
it's
gives me a
true.
good 15 years. That's it. That's
You're
it.
not
Like-
allowed to die that young.
Well, and,
Well-
and when people die like tragically, like everybody like suddenly was their best friend and wants to like give a statement and be there and talk. That's just kind of the
That's
nature
not allowed
of
to
these
happen. He's not allowed to die young, and he's not allowed to die tragically.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I want to find the death sweet spot. Because
Well-
I don't want to die when all my friends are like already dying. Like all my friends are dying, and I'm like the last one to go. Then nobody comes to my funeral.
Oh,
I mean,
well,
I don't want
it's-
that.
then it's 83. 83.
83 is the sweet spot.
83 is the sweet spot.
Okay, all right. Well, black
A
people
lot of
don't
your
really
fun-
make it. Black people don't really make it to there. So let's be honest.
too.
Let's
You've
talk about like my
You've
mid-70s.
talked about your abs. You're going to be fine.
This is
the oldest person in the world right now is African American.
Yeah.
Really?
true story.
Yeah.
True story. Yeah, they're like 100. Yeah, but they're gonna die tomorrow. You know that, right?
Well, I mean, but yeah, but she's like,
Like,
like
I feel like-
113
I
and I
feel
don't think
like-
she's ready.
I feel like if I was a really, really, really old person, I wouldn't want it to be announced that I was the oldest person on Earth because it's like always after they make that announcement that they die like a week later.
Well,
Always.
I've heard people say, I don't want any part of that oldest person on Earth title. That title is cursed.
It is because
Yeah.
you're gonna die. You're next. You're next.
You're next.
But he's
Yeah.
already next.
I was thinking, like, I don't think it's cursed so much as you're just really freaking old.
Right.
Yeah,
No.
but here's the thing. They always tell like a story about like the oldest person. Like she is 112 years old and she still drives herself to work every day. And I'm like, why the heck are you still working, Grandpa?
I think no,
I
the
Great,
last lady I
great,
saw,
actually.
she was like, comatose in the chair. They're like, she's so old, and I was like, poor lady. I
But when
hope
you
she
think
takes
about it,
soon.
if 20 people who live to be 100 years old,
Yeah.
all met each other. I read this story years and years ago in a
They would all
CCM.
sync up.
Well, yeah, they would all sync up. If they were women, they would sync up. But
They
That
hopefully
puts-
don't have that issue by
that
then.
puts only 20 people between us and Jesus.
Yep.
Isn't that crazy when you think about that? That's so
Wait,
nuts.
what?
Only
if-
20 generations.
If 20 people who met, if 20 people who lived to be 100 years old each met each other, that would put only 20 people between us and when Jesus lived.
Oh, okay.
That's
now
crazy.
I understand.
That's nuts to me. I read that in some
Well,
story
now it's
years
like
ago. It was weird.
20 and a few years.
I guess 21 people. 21 people at this point, right? Something like that.
Sure.
I
But
don't
still,
know.
it's a lot. It's a lot.
I mean, that's if you believe Jesus was a real person. And none of us do that.
I don't know about this one.
Oh dear.
Oh, gosh.
Okay. How have we not done that podcast?
I'm just kidding. Anyhow, so all right, so we needed something crazy and lighthearted before we got into this really deep, dark, dank conversation we're about to have about Planned Parenthood.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll start off by saying I love Planned Parenthood and everything they stand for. So.
Sarcasm.
That's true.
Right. So. Okay. So, yeah, you guys saw the video. I'm actually going to play some of the audio beforehand. But so let's. We can just dive right in to this story. Did you guys all watch the video?
Yep.
I could not bring myself to watch it. I apologize. I did read a lot of the comments, but I could not hack it.
Okay, well, for me to give you some background, they interviewed Dr. Deborah Nucalola, I believe. Nucalola, okay, I'm sorry. She's a senior director of medical services, and she is having dinner. Looks like she's drinking a little bit of wine, and she is just very nonchalantly talking about essentially partial birth abortion procedures being performed on babies.
Let's be just for the sake of accuracy, just for the sake of accuracy, I think partial birth abortion is. I don't think they're talking about partial birth, because partial birth abortion, as it's defined, is an incredibly rare thing.
Right. It's not. That's where I was going. It's not actual partial birth abortion. She is using the procedure they would use for partial birth abortion, the way they evacuate the birth canal. So yeah, that's what I was getting at there. But either way, they are essentially harvesting certain organs from the fetal tissue, heart, liver, and lungs specifically. People are paying $30 to $100 per specimen for different uses. Primarily, it looks like scientific research. I don't think that they're selling them to continue to grow them to be used as replacement organs.
I don't know. The demand of livers might be.
Well, that's not what I'm getting, and I don't think at 24 weeks they're viable enough to do that, and I don't know how much they would grow them. But either way, she talks about basically a calculated way of removing the body, crushing the top of the body, so the head, the colarium, and crushing the lower part of the body, the feet and the legs, but not doing damage to the middle section so as to remove heart, liver, and lungs. Apparently, there's a $500,000 federal fine. This is a federal offense for doing this kind of thing, according to the video that I watched. I'm sure that there's been a statement that's been released since this video came out from Planned Parenthood, which I think Jen will comment on a little bit. And a partial birth abortion procedure being done on a baby or a fetal tissue younger than a certain gestation period, I guess, is punishable by a $250,000 fine, according to the U.S. Code 1531. So she is talking about this procedure very, very nonchalantly over wine and dinner. The people who were filming this were doing it undercover. They were pretending to be people who were looking to buy heart, liver, and lungs, body organs from this fetal tissue from these babies. So this video has hit the web and gone crazy, and it is lucky. I saw somebody posted, hey, it's lucky they're not talking about the Confederate flag, otherwise somebody would be very upset about this, which I thought was pretty interesting. A nice juxtaposition there. And so, Kara, that was my explanation of the video. I'll have the audio from the video in the actual podcast that we post, so all this is going to be edited out. I just wanted to kind of explain to you what transpired in the video. And so, I would like to know what you guys think on what has happened, what has come out since then. I know Planned Parenthood has already released a statement, so we can comment on that as well. Seems obviously very polarizing. and kind of your thoughts on what has come out in the news about Planned Parenthood.
I guess I'll start, and I'll start because I'd like there to be as much space between my getting done talking and the end of this podcast as possible, because I'm in the uncomfortable. I don't even know what I want to say. No, I guess I'm in the uncomfortable position of having to sound to some people like I'm defending Planned Parenthood, and that's not what I want to do. Edit point. I've completely lost audio. Can somebody say something?
I can hear you fine.
Okay, sorry. Moving on. And I don't want to sound like I'm defending Planned Parenthood as it's been laid out here, but and I was horrified by this story when I first heard it. I mean, of course, anybody with a shred of humanity would be horrified when I first heard it. I do have to weigh I do have to take their statement into account, and that is that these body parts are not being sold. They're being donated for stem cell and other scientific research with the permission of the parents, and that Planned Parenthood is not making a profit, that they're being reimbursed for transportation costs. And there's been a lot of talk in the news the last few days, the last week as we record this, about Planned Parenthood, running a for-profit baby part black market sales scheme. And Dr. Nucatola in the video talks about, well, this part can go for $10 and this part can go for $30 and some up to $100. And we're talking about an organization that gets $500 million just from the government every year. They're not going to expose themselves to $500,000 fines and criminal prosecution to make $30. That number, what we're talking about, is gas and mileage, and it's not a for-profit scheme. So I guess I'm fired now. So okay.
All right. I can go there with you. I guess I'll push back in remarking that Planned Parenthood has been fined plenty of times.
Okay.
For major infractions, often ignored by the media, often ignored by people who are advocates for Planned Parenthood. And I guess as a black person, I can't really stand much of what they do to begin with. But I want to, because 90% of all Planned Parenthoods are located in urban centers. They're located where black people live, where Hispanic people live, where poor people live. And I'm not saying that all blacks and Hispanics are poor people, but urban centers are generally not as affluent as suburban areas, by and large. And for every 5 black people that you see, you should see 7. For every 5 Hispanic people you see, you should see 6. Those are numbers that you can find on blackgenocide.com and a few other places around the internet. Now, that being said, I don't want to talk about that necessarily. I do want to talk about the idea of what is in fact revealed by, or my thoughts about what's revealed by this is, for many years, people who are pro-life, myself included, have argued that this is a human baby. This is a human being. You are ending human life. Yes, I do come from a point of view that is scripturally based, where it says that, where it says in Scripture, where God knit you together in your mother's womb. But even if I weren't a Christian and I were just a humanist, I would think that this speaks very low of our value of human life. And the pro-abortion side Some people say pro-death side. I'll just say pro-abortion side. I don't want to be antagonistic here. But the pro-abortion side, the pro-women's rights side, women's, pro-women's rights side, have said, this is not a baby. This is not a baby. This is, it's just cells and protoplasm. It's just a bundle of nerves. It is not a human being. It is not viable. All right, well, fine. Okay. And if that were true, that would change the argument, and that's why people have gone back and forth on this for many, many years, and will continue to go back and forth on this. But when I hear someone who is nonchalantly talking about, she's even using the language of the calvarium, rather than saying head, she says calvarium. It's very medical, right? Breach, that means feet first. To use the word breach, it's feet first. So rather than saying feet first, because that makes it sound like a human, or head, that makes it sound like a human, she says calvarium and breach. So she uses very guarded language here. So at least she's consistent, right?
Well, she is a medical doctor, so that's her training.
Right, but I've gone to the doctor and they're like, you got a head wound. It's like, hey, they don't say you have a calvarium wound. So it's guarded language here. And I understand some doctors need to have a very cold, calculated removal from it. Otherwise, if they thought about it, they could be, broken individuals. Same as a surgeon who loses a patient, on the table. They're operating and they lost someone, so they talk about it in cold, calculated medical terms so as to not be, a broken individual over it. But she talks about removing heart, liver, and lungs. Okay. Whether this was for the black market, which they've shown that it's not, or for medical research, what they have shown that it is for. You are now talking about human body parts. So she talks about certain things, head and feet, in very medical terms, so as to not be talking about a human being. But what's inside the human being, well, we can talk about that. And so I found it very disturbing. That this is happening. Now we could get into issues of, if I got into an accident, I have it on my card, my ID card, that I'm an organ donor, right? Okay, I have no problems with organ donation. I have no problem with my body being used for medical research. People do that; they donate their bodies to science afterwards. But we all understand that they are studying a dead human body. If I give my organs to help someone else, I'm giving my organs to help another human being. I am giving human organs to be studied or put into another human being to help their body last and live longer. So I find it very, very interesting that the argument for years has been this is not a human being, but then we take these body parts and speak of human body parts being put into or used for medical research to help the human race move forward. Those are my thoughts right now because I want other people to get in.
To piggyback on that, though, I think it's really interesting because the argument, again, is that essentially it's this blob of cells, it's not far enough along, they don't feel pain, etc., but if they're at the point in which they can have these organs extracted, I would also think that it would beg the question of their developmental stage in general. And I personally think that it's amazing how much separation has been made between the two that's believed by so many, because how is it that they are far enough developed that we can take these organs from them, but yet we also argue that they're a blob of cells? And as much as we also understand, even the development before this video, I mean, nobody is an idiot. We know at certain weeks, we know exactly what the development is of these children. And, I just think that using that language is very specific and very intentional, because the more we make it seem removed, the less we actually have to come to grips with what's happening. It's a safeguard for not just the people involved, but for everybody, to protect essentially the admission of the problem. That's my thought.
I don't know what to say. I'm feeling really sad just thinking about all of this. I guess I'll start by saying I used to be someone who considered herself to be pro-choice. I guess I really believed in, I never believed in that abortion was right, but I believed in a woman being able to choose whether or not she would do that to her body. And I stood by that for a long time, I guess, until I, had my son, carried my son for 9 months, and he was born, and now he's almost 3 years old, and it just completely changed my perspective as what was going on there. It wasn't something that was happening to my body. It was somebody that was that needed me, someone that needed my body to become the person that they were created to be. It changed my perspective, and ever since then, I've been, I guess, really. The topic of abortion just makes me want to weep. Honestly, it makes me want to weep. As someone who, I've had a couple of miscarriages, and I know there are a lot of people that go through that, and people that go through infertility and that kind of thing, and so I guess just the whole idea that somebody would have a life that is completely dependent on them and would choose to let that life down just because it's simpler blows my mind. I say all that to say, I think you're right, Calvin, when you said, when you talked about the medical talk, absolutely, you have to be desensitized to it. Even if you are pro-choice, I don't think anybody could go into it saying, well, I'm going to go ahead and kill my baby. You have to use that clinical language, because otherwise you're faced with what it really is. And I think the big deal about this Planned Parenthood story is that everybody that I saw, every article that I saw, people were feeling outraged that was going on. And I think I hope that what it does is it makes us think about it a little bit differently. It's one thing to say, well, I had an abortion, the little fetus and embryo is out of my body now and I'm done. But to think people could actually take that and use the lungs and the heart and whatever, it's a person, and if you're outraged that they're using those parts for something, then I feel like the whole act has to make you feel outraged as well.
I guess the edit point. Can you still hear me? Can you still hear me? Okay. I have no audio. I guess the question that comes to mind for me is I am the oldest person on this podcast. I turned 40 a couple of weeks ago, and I became politically aware, started to become politically aware roughly 30 years ago. There has not been a week of my life in those 30 years that I haven't heard somebody arguing about abortion. Somebody arguing for, somebody arguing against. And roughly, I guess, between 5 and 10 years ago, I started to think about it in terms of the procedure being legal in a different way, because, and I won't say peace, but I have come to a Zen-like state, I would say, and I have accepted the fact that abortion is always going to be legal. It's never, as long as I live, it's never going to be completely illegal. And for all of the Sturm und Drang you hear about, I'm voting for X presidential candidate because he's pro-life, we got a Republican on the Supreme Court. We got a Republican president in 2005, put Chief Justice John Roberts on the Supreme Court. And pretty much the first thing he said in his confirmation hearing was, if Roe versus Wade comes before this court, I'm not going to overturn it, because overturning Roe versus Wade for arcane constitutional reasons found in the 4th and 14th Amendments would mean revisiting 42 years of case law, and it would absolutely blow up the federal court system. Roe versus Wade is not going to be overturned. Abortion is going to be legal. And the question I think we need to wrestle with is, if the woman has decided to do it, and we can counsel her and we can pray for her, but when that choice has been made, when she decides to do it, is it ethical to do something good with the remains? I don't know. Can good be accomplished with the results of evil?
Right. That gets into the question of, do the ends justify the means? And
it's a good question.
Let me say this. I don't think it's so much. It's not exactly do the ends justify the means, because the ends justifying the means would be, can I save a life if I kill this baby? That's not the question. The baby's going to die. And the question is, can I save a life with the body, or should I bury it?
Right.
Because the baby is going to die.
No, I mean, logically, it is an ends justify the means. You may not be asking that direct question, but that is the logical construct under which it falls.
Okay.
So that's all I'm saying. I am as far as I understand, I'm the only person on this podcast who has lost a child to this procedure. Without my consent, without my knowledge, because that's the way that it's set up, because it's a women's rights issue. And I'm not going to go into details about it, but I will say that I had no knowledge of it until after the fact. I had no knowledge of the fact of a child until after the child had been, quote-unquote, taken care of. The problem had been taken care of. And I will say that ruined me in certain ways. It ruined her in certain ways, and she didn't kill herself. And I didn't kill myself, but that is something that I'm always going to have to live with. Theologically, looking at it as a Christian, I'm still implicated in it. I guess when I look at this situation, to kind of engage your question there, Kent, I'm trying to measure my words here. Let me think. Without giving a very visceral response. I will say that this. Whew, wow. What do I want to say to that? No, the ends don't justify the means. You've murdered someone, taking their organs. This is why. Here's a good example. We're not legally able to take the body parts of an inmate. Okay.
Okay.
The reason that like someone is electrocuted or whatever, lethal injection. You could harvest the body parts very quickly, and they would not be damaged. But they have made that illegal. We have outlawed it, so that it does not become big business for the prison system, which is already big business. That's a whole other podcast. So it does not become big business to push through the death penalty for lots of offenders, right? So, okay, well, you're in prison, you're no use to society anymore. Due process has already been served. We're gonna kill you. You're not gonna be able to go through the appeals process. We're gonna kill you because this cancer patient over here, who runs a Fortune 500 company, and they've done lots of great things to change the world. They need your lungs, and they need your whatever have you. And so even though these lungs and these livers and these hearts are being used for medical research, I think to have this kind of thing legal, which it is, unfortunately, needs to be a question that is brought up.
I think it's a moral ethical issue. It muddles the waters.
It does muddy the waters, but I don't think here's the difference on this, and where I'll push back on my own thoughts. I don't think anybody is going into an abortion clinic and thinking, well, I'm going to kill this baby because this heart and this lung and this liver is needed for medical research. I don't think that's what's happening. But I do think the reason why we don't do it in prisons is the same reason we should not be doing it with the abortion industry. And I use the word abortion industry for a very specific and strategic reason, because I see things about Planned Parenthood. Abortion is only 3% of the services that they provide. Oh, well, that's great. There are about 15 other organizations that provide all the same services that Planned Parenthood does without abortion. And you can say that 3% is all of abortion is 3% of what they provide, but it is their number one economic driver. It is the thing that makes Planned Parenthood the most money. It is far more expensive than all of the other services that they offer.
No doubt.
So, to say that abortion is not big business is to lie to ourselves. This is not going to be overturned, not because of 40 years of judicial precedent and you need to revisit all these laws. That might be a small part of it. The bigger part of it is it's an economic driver for the United States, whether you like it or not. We make money off of evil. We make money off of evil, just like we make money off of abortion, just like we make money off of pornography. Pornography makes more money than Major League Baseball, NHL, MLB, and what's the other sport? So football, baseball, basketball,
hockey?
And NFL.
Hockey.
So hockey, NFL, NBA, and Major League Baseball combined on a yearly basis. That is why pornography is never going to be illegal. The same reason why abortion is never going to be illegal is because it makes tons and tons and tons of money. And abortion is evil, unabated. Pornography is illegalized. Pornography is evil, unabated. And that's why it's never going to stop. Not because of the whole judicial precedent, but to answer the question, to go back to answering the question, so I can land on that and you guys can speak on it again, is no. We should not be harvesting these organs because it does say that the ends justify the means. I think we need to live with the fact that we are aborting children and we are using human tissue, human organs, in whatever capacity. It is humanity that is being destroyed, not tissue, not blobs of tissue. We can't say it's blobs of tissue anymore if we're saying simultaneously we are harvesting all this stuff. And that's what really makes me mad. One of the things that makes me mad about the Planned Parenthood thing is they apologize for her tone. They apologize for her tone. They don't apologize for the fact that we are killing children. They apologize for the woman's tone and lack of compassion in her conversation over lunch and wine.
I think the fact that we got an apology at all is for anything is really quite something, and an admission on their part that this looks terrible. I don't think you should hold your breath waiting for Planned Parenthood to apologize for their business model. The tone was that's all they were going to apologize for. That's the best we were going to do.
I think go ahead.
Okay, I'll go. Having said what I said before about just really finding the act of abortion just despicable, I will say I don't think it's something that not only won't ever be illegal, but I'm not sure that it should be illegal. I don't think that would solve the problem. The problem is that people want to have abortions. So whether they can go to a clinic and have it done, or whether they can, do a bunch of drugs and alcohol to get rid of the baby in their body, or whether, you know, their boyfriend punches them in the stomach, or whatever the case may be. If somebody is at that place where they do not want to have a baby and they will do whatever they can to get rid of it, they will find a way to do it. And I guess I feel like, kind of like Kent suggested, that if somebody's going to do it, one, I guess I do want them to have a place to go to do that where that's safe and they can maybe get counseling afterwards, because they're going to be messed up, like you said, Calvin. They're going to need some help after that. Even if they think it's not a big deal, they're going to be messed up about it. But also, I guess I feel like it is kind of the only redeeming quality of that terrible thing that's going on, that baby's life might be used to save somebody else. And so I mean, I guess I totally get what you're saying, and I agree. Like, the thought of it, it does make me sick. But what makes me sick is that people would choose to do that in the first place. I feel like if they do it, and you know, because with fetal stem cells, I mean, are connected to like so many, maybe all of our vaccines. If our vaccines we have don't have fetal stem cells in them, then they were tested at least on them. And you think about the lives that vaccines have saved, and so I'm not justifying it at all. And
right, because I mean they use that same process. I mean, let's be honest. We could argue that a lot of great things came out of the Nazi regime then, because lots of testing was done. I mean, a lot of medical breakthroughs came through because of the Nazis and what they did to the Jews. So, I mean, that's like, well, you know, hey.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying, and if you were to say like the whole purpose of the Holocaust was to have these good things come out of it, well, obviously I would never pay the price of the Holocaust for whatever few good things did come out. Just like I would never abort a baby just so maybe like we can have one like scientific medical discovery. But I'm saying
and more babies have been killed via abortion than were killed in the Holocaust.
Absolutely, and that's what I'm saying is people are killing babies. It's awful. It's awful.
Many times more babies have been killed. Many times have been killed since 1970, since Roe versus Wade in 1973 up till today, than have killed in the Holocaust. At last I heard about 5 times as many, depending on certain definitions. I guess to rephrase the question, and because the Nazis were brought up, and the example I'm about to use is completely fictional, because this is not how it happened. But let's pretend that in the Holocaust, during human experimentation on Jews before they were marched into the oven, let's pretend that we discovered the vaccine for polio. And the Allies and the Soviets crush Berlin, and Hitler kills himself, and Nazism is over, and now we've got and the camps are liberated, and now we've got a vaccine for polio. Should people still be dying of polio?
I want to rebuttal a little bit, because I think that I can think of 2 things. I think that one, we're very, very particular on things like, for example, an election and how people donate, right? We want to make sure that the line is clean, right? There's not somebody buying their agenda, etc. So we pay very clear attention, or concise attention to that. I think it's the same here. I think that when we muddy the waters with things like stem cell research and donating organs, etc., that we muddy the waters and we forget what's really happening. There were vaccinations prior to abortions, and there's other means to them. There's plenty of people who have natural abortions and issues that they can also do research at that point, if the parents allow. There's other ways to do these things and to do them ethically. And I think as long as we put these other factors in, it's really easy to justify the means. And I think it muddies it. I think that it's not that the means justifies the ends, but rather, as a Christian, my faith says that God can take what the enemy meant for evil and turn it around for good. I don't think that these reasons and these good things that have come out of it are the reasons that we should continue or justify what we do. I think rather it's that we serve a big and mighty God who can take these things and bring good about. And I think that it's great that there's been some lives that have been saved by some progressions in the medical field and discoveries, but do I think that we could have done them and done them ethically? I do.
Yeah. So for me to answer your question, and we'll end on this, not just because I want to have the last word, or I don't want to have the last word, but to answer your question, Kent, this is going to sound very cold, probably just as cold as the lady having her wine and talking about harvesting baby parts. Yes, people should still be dying of polio.
Okay.
In your example, yes, people should still be dying of polio. If we could find, and to piggyback off of what Jen said, if we could find another way, like I don't want people to die of polio, obviously, but if that was the means by which we were trying to find a cure for polio, whether on purpose or on accident, yes, people should still be dying of polio.
I think we have to believe that God is big enough to live as He.
God managed to help people find a way to cure polio without that scenario.
But, I mean, I'm sorry, I know you wanted to have the last word, but I'm just saying, like, if a baby someone's had an abortion completely unrelated, and within that baby is the cure for polio, I guess what you're saying is it's unethical to do any kind of testing on that baby. We just have to bury it.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
I think most ethicists would tell you that is in fact unethical. I could be wrong, but as far as I recall from from my classes at Rochester College where I took ethics, I got an A+ in ethics, by the way, which is great. Like other people were like, I just don't understand these ethical constructs. I was like, this seems to make logical sense to me. Mm-hmm. Don't do this because. But it was like,
that's one of the things I would get an A in.
Yeah.
Is ethics.
What if everybody did this? Right. That's one of those questions you ask of ethics. What if everybody did this? Yeah. And we realize, okay, well, if everybody did this, the whole, like an eye for an eye leaves the whole world blind, right? We'd all be blind. So, I mean, that's kind of where I come down on this. Yeah, and that sounds cold and calculated, but yeah, I think everybody, hopefully, God would find another way.
I guess just the point I was trying to make was that just because of our faith, we don't believe that baby is buried in the ground. Like that is just a body at that point after it's died, just like I'm just a body after I died, which is why I have no problem donating my organs to science. I hate that somebody killed that baby, but I guess I feel like if that baby's in heaven with God now, I'm okay with somebody using the baby's body to try to actually do good in the world instead of the evil that was done to the baby.
It sets a precedent, and Planned Parenthood has been called to account for this, not for setting the precedent, but there have been times where they have done undercover videos where women have gone into Planned Parenthood facilities and they have been counseled to have abortions, okay? And they're supposed to be, when they go in there, given all sorts of different alternatives. Okay, and it was an unedited video, and they showed this woman being talked basically into having the abortion. I guess the woman thought she was going to have one, but if she wasn't thinking of having one, she wasn't given the option of not having one. She wasn't given that information. And so if you were making money off of, or you are harvesting organs, that puts less of an impetus on organizations that provide abortions to give you the full range of options.
Well, because
this good
evil.
Thing could come. Yeah, that's
I
evil.
I completely agree with you there. That's completely evil.
And let's be honest, they're evil already. Okay, they're evil already for what they do. So what makes us think that all of a sudden they'll be like, you know what? That's too evil. That's too evil. Let's not go that way.
And I think it's important just to say as we close, and this may not be the last word either, The polio vaccine. Okay, the polio vaccine had nothing to do with the Holocaust. That was a purely hypothetical example.
Right.
Dr. Jonas Salk was not a Nazi.
Well, to
Okay.
marvel,
Dr.
I have to
Salk,
marvel
I
out
apologize. All right.
I just have to marvel out here. In any superhero movie, there's always that like temptation point that the hero has where they can kind of do something and allow it. And there's usually that point where it's like there has to be a better way. And I think that that's what we should be challenged with. There has to be a way in which we could be both ethical, moral, and not keep killing babies and still have science advance. That's my opinion.
Okay.
All right, we'll stop there. No break because we got to get you off. Well, that came out wrong. So
I'm gonna hang up now.
we got to get.
That will be edited.
We got to be done by 9:15 for your family movie. So we'll try to get you done. So
At least I have no travel time this time. It's right upstairs.
okay, cool. So we're gonna stop this and we'll call back in.
Okay.